Thank you, sir. Good morning to you and your cherished listeners.
I hope you're well.
I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well too.
I am also well. In fact, your statement communicated the suggestion that you were working towards triggering a strike. After yesterday's meeting, have you terminated those processes?
We have actually put those processes on hold because together with the discussion with organized labor, a period of 1 month is good enough to have us been engaged for some of these other issues that are on board to be discussed and addressed and post that we really can trigger finally the process of going on strike if those issues are not resolved. And part of the issues we bring on board, in addition to what organized labor is having as a challenge, is the issue of the dissolution.
So, dissolution of the board?
Absolutely.
Utag still insists on the fact that that board should go.
Nothing has actually changed aside the termination. Nothing has changed. What led us to this particular issue? And so the pressure organized labor brought to bear was first of all to terminate the transaction, which has been done. And in our observation, in our engagement, nothing predominantly has happened or has changed, requiring that the same hands dealing and managing the affairs of Ssnit has to be left to stay on to work in our interest. Nothing really has changed. And so we think that since 2 months now that we've been having the back and forth discussion on this particular issue, the board really haven't shown that good faith, that trustworthiness that the public whom they represent, really want. And so, and that again adds up to the issues of competency because they have that oversight responsibility over the day-to-day management of Ssnit. And to the extent that Ssnit has so many other challenges for which some of these non-performing assets has to let go, means that part of the functions of the board and management really haven't been performed well. And to that extent, Utag saying that they need to really step aside, let us have new energy, new injection of ideas, approaches and strategies, come on board to steer the affairs. For us as the bigger stakeholders for Ssnit, we are very focused and serious with this call. And we think that the board and management should have the conscience and moral sense to listen to us and then step aside for other new set of active people to come. Of course, the board and management have done well. They've steered the affairs up until now. And there are many other Ghanaians who really have similar competency that has to be given the chance to come and support. And so we appreciate whatever they've done so far. But we think that just like some others left and they came, it's high time they exit and let other newer energies, come on board to steer the affairs of Ssnit. We've really not departed from that position.
In fact, that question was supposed to put to the Director General of Ssnit yesterday in a couple of interviews. He wonders what his scene was because he's been given a job to manage Ssnit. Ssnit has many investment portfolios. Now, based on his assessment, he feels that that is the one way of dealing with the matter. That disagreeing with him alone should not be cause for you to be asking for him to go. That it is unfair. He is wondering, what sin has he committed?
He hasn't committed any sin. And we are not actually dealing with him as an individual. We are not looking at him as an individual of the entity. In fact, if you profile him as an individual, you realize that he's a top-notch gentleman, a corporate person that every other corporate organization should have him lead, your organization. And so Not at all. It has nothing to do with his sins. But we are just looking at the broader picture. And that broader picture is basically to say that, of course, Ssnit have been having problems since he joined, since this board also joined and all that. But we are just looking at how much of that elevation of Ssnit out of these challenges it finds itself over the period. And how this particular transaction is giving us a peek into the operations of Ssnit. Oftentimes, many other things trigger certain interests. And this board and management really first not, listening and following the call by the general public, civil society, to end this particular transaction. Only until when there was a threat, and not just a threat, a nationwide strike, resulting in the board, terminating the transaction, means that if that even extreme request and push didn't come, Ssnit would have still gone ahead. And those are some of the disturbing issues. Those are the disturbing issues that we think once you are leading and the key stakeholder in that particular organization, which is your contributors, are asking that please stop this. Naturally, the first good common sense is to stop and engage. Even if it means you have to take us through whether financial or investment literacy, why the books are not working, what you need to do that so that you bring us along. You build that trust. But if it is that, we will only just be reading from it on the public portals, just like every other group and every other member, then it means that you are not taking organized labor serious, who are representatives of the Ghanaian worker.
I see. You said this has provided you an opportunity, but before I get there, are you including the Npra board?
Sorry?
Do you have any issues with the National Pensions Regulatory Authority? Because there are those who have sought to bring them into the equation. I realize that in your statement, you do not refer to them.
Yes, in fact, they are regulators. Npra typically have to have the regulatory oversight. And they're actually part of the equation because initially we all got satisfied when they actually called for a pause of the transactional process. So you realize the organized labor call earlier. And so everyone, we all thought the regulator was coming to deal with it in that form. Only for us to be told again that the regulator really had given them the green light to go ahead. And so that same question then comes. So what will the regulator then do now that the termination has happened? The regulator is typically part of the same problem, which is so unfortunate. Sometimes the public wisdom, we may not be coming from the technical line, but it requires a pause and consultation, especially that you are dealing with so many varied constituents of your contributors. So many varied constituents. When dealing with such issues, that slowness and focus on widespread consultation and engagement is primarily key. Because if it was like a private sector, who cares? At the end of the day, you deal with the risk that emanates from your transactions or investments. But this one, we can't be dealing with it because my old mom and old dad who are pensioners and in the village will not have any idea why and how their pensions are not being paid or not being paid on time. They don't have any idea. The only idea they have is the likes and people like me who represent them as a union to speak and talk on and about their aspirations. And so That is exactly what we are doing, and we hope they listen to us.
Before I come to the issue, I was going to ask you, you said you have gotten a peek into how Ssnit is run. Have you gotten that peek? Are you impressed with what you're seeing?
No, the peep into the operations is more or less listening to experts in the field. It's just very short time that these things really, but for us, we are just interested in the goodwill and functioning process of Ssnit. And so our hope is that with this 1 month engagement period with Ssnit, some other very good education, enlightenment and approaches will be discussed, such that the 1 month ultimatum given for us to come back in full force will not even come or arise at all.
What will this consultation center on?
There are broader issues, and that is what organized labor is to put before Ssnit. There are broader issues. Yes, and it's all about the investments, the operations, the management.
Is Ssnit ready to compromise on this matter of the sales of the hotel if they are convinced?
They have actually no choice. Ssnit actually have no choice when...
No, forgive me. Is organized labor ready?
Sorry?
The question I meant to ask was whether organized labor was ready to compromise on the stance of the sales of the hotel if during this conversation you are convinced that there's a need to sell those the 60% shares.
Of course. So typically, like what organized labor have been saying is that if organized labor is convinced that these are non-performing and they've tried these other alternatives, restructuring, reinvestments or recapitalization, and many other options, and they are not working, and they think with the interest in these other 4 facilities, sales is the best option. Why not? Sales are always part of investment exits, or sometimes even investment strategies, so that you can put such capital into other fluid investments that Ssnit will have. So those ones, there are no problems with it. The challenges we've had over the period is where you actually have been convinced that these other 4 facilities are functioning normally and are even offering return on investment a little bit more better than some other investment that Ssnit is not touching. And so then that means that the Algore transaction part of it has to really be examined.
Would Utag be comfortable if the people who sit on the table to have these consultations are the same people you're asking to resign and leave?
That is okay. We really don't have a problem. And we really don't have a problem in the sense that if you are to even bring new other people, that familiarization and other things will have to start even before the engagement and restructuring process will start. And so for us, we are okay with that.
Doc, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much, sir.
Dr. Eliasu Mumuni is National Secretary for Utag, speaking to us on the decision that was reached by organized labor yesterday. They have given Ssnit 30 days. They want Ssnit to sit down with them, have consultations with them on the state of Ssnit, their pensions, the monies that are collected on behalf of the workers. What is it being used for? How this investment, what state are these investments in? Why are you thinking about these hotels and not other investments that are not doing particularly well? In fact, STC is one of the places that has come up. STC is in shambles. It's in very terrible shape. But why is Ssnit not mentioning STC? It's a question that has been asked, among many other issues that they would like to speak to Ssnit on. Before I give this one back to Eric, let me see if I can find a few comments to go through so that I don't miss the contributions you are making to the conversation today. And let me start with the last answer. Say Zenu Central said the dollar is already defeating Baumia in the debate. Price of goods and services are already defeating Baumia in the debate, and he's calling for what again? Is Ghana digital system rebase than that of America, but they run 24-hour economy? Okay, thank you. There's also this one which is coming from Prince. Prince says, good morning. Did I hear Kofi Osafo right? Oh, now it has become unfair for him to be asked to resign, Abi. But it was fair for his boss to be asked to resign. Double standard. How can someone who does not contribute to Ssnit manage contributors' money? If he does not live quietly, he will be smoked out like a rat in a hole. The adage that goes, quiet people are dangerous.